So I just wanted to jump on with the remote learning lesson plans that were provided. This was the link that Mr. Vance provided, as well as the one that I linked as well. From here, there are some directions on using Microsoft Translator for parents. We use Google Translate a lot in our classroom, so that's something that you can use to help you convert some of this information if needed. I know it can be pretty tricky to navigate with that as well. We do have some parent guides that kind of go through just some suggestions for things to make sure that you are ready to do with your learners during this time. Again, the requirements for these first 5 days are going to be for students to complete 5 activities from this reading ELA, which is reading, writing, speaking and listening, grammar, all of that stuff, and then 5 activities from this math. That's going to be where your 30 minutes comes in. The 30 minutes should come from one of these activities in math, as well as one of these activities in the English Language Arts category. Anything else that I provide is definitely extra enrichment. They are asking that you continue with the iRead and iReady lessons, and then just definitely some basic reading of books and texts and things like that. All of the additional resources that we are providing are just that. They are additional resources to support you in these long days, but they are not required. I will be doing some check-ins just to kind of see where everybody's at, how everybody's doing. If you haven't done so already, please make sure to fill out that Google form. There's still a few of you that I haven't heard from, and I just want to make sure that we keep in touch with each other during this time. I wanted to go through this particular format for you guys because it is one that was provided to us by Fulton County Schools, so it's not something that I've created. I know that that can make a little bit of the interpretation of it uncertain. With this, there is no work to be turned in daily. You'll just keep all of your work at home, and then when we return back to school, you'll turn everything back in. If there is anything that I need to take for grade, they are requesting that we try to find some way to do that. I will reach out to you guys and let you know what in particular I'm looking for and how to submit it, whether through email or through Seesaw or from an online quiz platform or something like that. But basically what you're given is you're given 9 choices here, and you and your child select one to do each day. With that being said, it's good to choose a variety of things. If you want to do all of them, you're more than welcome to. However, it's completely unnecessary to do all 9 of them. I'm just going to go through each box and try to clarify anything that might be confusing. The first one is a writing activity, and it's going to be where you take some time to share something that you know several facts about, something that you are passionate about. Tell them all of the facts that you know. Talk about the difference between facts and opinions for sure. We've done some work on that this year. You can share books together. You can share articles and videos about your topic. You can go through, YouTube, or Epic Books is another website that they're familiar with. Pebble Go was something that I featured on our Launchpad tutorial, and that will have some articles in there. The students are familiar with Brain Pop, going onto websites such as Kiddle and KidRex to do some research. What's great is they're in the midst of a research project, so that could be something that you guys can talk about together. But really, what is something that you know a lot about, and then ask them what is something that they know a lot about. Ask them to tell you the facts and listen to those facts and ask them for more details on those, or can you elaborate, or can you explain, or try to catch them because sometimes they over exaggerate numbers that they think they know, and have that opportunity to discuss those together. Look through books and articles and videos together, and then after you discuss, have them write an informational text. We're working on introductions. We're working on conclusion statements. The expectations for our second graders right now is one paragraph, and we talk about having a 5-point paragraph. So an introduction statement, at least 3 facts, and then a concluding sentence. So with that, they can take this as far as you want them to. It can just be as simple as go do some research and let's write about it. It could be make a book on it. It could be make a project or a video or anything that you want to do to extend this is obviously welcome. But in terms of the minimum requirements here, again, it's 30 minutes. So as long as you're hitting that 30 minutes and you're discussing these things together and you're evaluating their writing, we've been doing a lot of work with editing and revising, and they love doing that. So spend some time doing that with them. This next one is about fluency. That's about the rate and speed and expression that your learners are reading with. So read a familiar book with your child just for fun. Afterwards, echo read the book with your child. You read a page and then they read the page right after you, trying to mimic you. So make some silly voices as characters and use that expression when you're reading. When there's a challenging moment, use your voice to portray that. When there's a moment of excitement, show that. Phonics and vocabulary, this is going to be using re and un, like remix, remake, refill. It gives you the examples there. See how many they can come up with together on their own, both of you together. See if you can prompt them to come up with some more. Then they draw a 4 square for each word and write the word, underline the root word in the first square. So here they would, for the example of remake, they would underline the word make. Then they would draw a picture in the second square, write the definition of the word in the third square, and write the word in a sentence in the fourth square. So with this, I wouldn't have them do more than maybe you could have them create a list of as many words as they can, and then I would say choose your top 5. When you're talking about doing a picture, a definition, and a sentence, that is going to take a little bit longer. So this would be an activity you could spread out over a couple of days if you wanted to. Maybe you could do one each day, something like that, to come up with some ideas for you. For your literary, it's reading a fictional text of their choice and then have them talk about the characters, the setting, the problems, the lesson, and the message that's learned. They can create a postcard that they can send to a friend that summarizes and explains the central message of the story. You could also have them do this in a video on Seesaw. They can have a book talk with me, or on Flipgrid, maybe we could create a template for them to do this one on there as well. This one mainly here is just for you guys to really talk about those key elements of the story that they're reading. If they're reading a chapter book, have them just talk about that particular chapter or maybe what they've read so far. For nonfiction text or articles to read with your child, Epic Books has quite a few. Again, that Pebble Go from their Launchpad has a bunch. There's a few other good websites such as National Geographic Kids and NASA Kids that have articles. Britannica Kids has articles. That's one they use for our vocabulary definitions. All of those things are accessible for you. I'm compiling that list as much as I can, and we'll send that out to you so you'll have some ideas of where to find these nonfiction text articles that are kind of more geared toward your child's level. It says to then go ahead and write predictions based on it with Post-it notes, small sheets of paper, read the whole text, and then have them use that to identify the focus of each paragraph in the nonfiction article or book that you're reading. We've spent some time talking about main idea versus details, although it is something that we are working towards mastering this year. That is a skill that we work on throughout the whole year, and our next unit is actually another nonfiction unit that we're going to be spending more time on this with. So this might be something that is a good opening topic for you guys to discuss. For the vocabulary, find 10 interesting compound words and create a booklet. Your child should write the vocabulary word, use drawing supplies to illustrate the word, and write a sentence. See how to find as many of your vocabulary words as possible in a different article. So this one here, I'm sorry, I'm trying to interpret it a little bit. So with this one, I wouldn't limit it to just compound words. That might be pretty tricky to find in one specific article unless it's created with compound words being the focus. So I would just say choose 10 interesting words from the book that you're working on. It doesn't have to be in this exact format. You can just have them create maybe a similar, we do vocabulary every single week in our classroom, so you could ask them, what does our vocabulary look like? Could they draw that? We basically just have our word, a synonym with the part of speech, and then we do the definition in the sentence. And some of you have seen these vocabulary sheets come home. They could just follow that same format for this particular box if this is one that you guys want to do together. Speaking and listening skill is talking about a book or a textbook. After you read, take turns asking and answering questions. If your child took home their I Read and I Ready books, then they would have some sample questions in there for you to do. If not, with this, I will try to find a list of some, I know I sent them out in the very beginning of the school year, some resources that have questions for fiction and nonfiction texts. I will try to get that list to you so you have some actual questions that you can go. It's kind of hard sometimes to come up with them off the top of your head. Here's another informational book, Using Trade Books, Model Identifying the Author's Purpose for Informational Text. Again, just choosing a nonfiction book from one of those websites, such as Epic Books, where they have tons and tons if you don't have any at home. Choose a second grade content from science or social studies. We are about to start our Forces of Motion unit, which is pushes and pulls. We're working on our biography unit, wrapping that up. They could do any of the topics that we've studied so far this year as well. And here again, they're talking about that main purpose of the text. So we've talked about what is the main purpose versus what are the details. So use some time to go through that. We have been spending some time about author's purpose. We've talked about, is the purpose to teach us a lesson or entertain us? Are they teaching us information? Are they writing to just give us facts? What is the purpose that the author wrote? What did they want us to learn from this? We talk about just the generic author's purpose and then also a little bit more detail. Okay, they wanted to entertain us, but what does that look like? Or they wanted to write us a lesson. What is the lesson that they're going through? So they can read and write about the text. Again, this looks like something that perhaps you could have them, we have what's called a Great Ideas notebook. It's just a notebook where we write down all the information and facts that we're interested in. That could be something that you guys create, or it could just be a sheet of paper that they write down all the information that they're curious about here. And the last one is another nonfiction text or article about a historical event. So this is great with our Living Museum. You can use any of that research that they've already done to complete this. They fold the paper into 4 squares, and then they have events in order, similar and different. And then talk about the events that they discussed in the article or the passage that they've read, then go through and put them in order. And then reread the text so the child can identify what is similar and different about the events that have happened. Another area that you could do, instead of with that similar and different, you could talk about how are that particular person similar or different from your child. So that's something that we were doing in our research with our Living Museum, was going through and seeing how are we the same with this particular person we're studying and how are we different from this person. And then they can illustrate or write about the event. So if I were you, I would use this particular box. I would use with the Living Museum because they already have done so much information and so much hard work on that. And there's going to be some more information about the Living Museum after we get some clarification. We really want to try to continue, even if it's just in a video format that we do at school. We'll kind of keep you posted on that because they've been working so hard on that, and it's one of my favorite projects. So I hope that this was somewhat helpful. Know that because these are not activities that we designed as a second grade team, know that we're lenient on how these are completed. If there's anything specific that you are uncertain of, just reach back out to us. Let us know what kind of questions you have, and know that we're flexible. So I will do another video on the math one shortly here.